Hi, it's Benny Perez, the director of the musical Pasaje, playing at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. If you want to learn more, listen in on this conversation.
So my first question is, when did you first fall in love with theater, and why did you have to be part of this great theater world?
Um, I discovered that I had a musical talent at about 14 in my freshman year. I didn't know what to take as an elective. I went over to talk to the choir director. He played the piano. I sang it back like a bird, and I realized that I had a good ear for music. And later that year, our high school had combined their choir department, the band department, and the drama department, and produced a production of Fiddler on the Roof. It was the first time I ever saw people singing, dancing, acting on stage, and I was absolutely blown away. I had never seen anything like it. So I thought, like a lot of theater kids, I can do this. This is something that maybe is in my future. I joined the choir. I joined the sort of the glee. We had like a show choir in my high school. Um, it was fun, and I had a great, ability for it. But after high school, your parents are like, when are you gonna get a sensible, like they don't. I come from a very conservative Mexican American family that doesn't really understand the arts as a vocation or as a career. It always seems like a hobby. But anyways, I did regional theater, and I loved it. And then just everything sort of snowballed from there. I worked for Princess Cruises as a singer for about 16 years, and that was an extension of my college. I went to Citrus College and studied musical performance, and yeah, I think you come to a point when you're an artist where you say to yourself, is this a hobby or am I going to try to make this into a job? And it's a rough decision because the muse is always like sort of pulling on your ear, like, come over here and play and have fun. And but your bills are always like, you know, don't stop. But it's been a road of ups and downs. It's been hills and valleys, wonderful uh successes and triumphs and exciting experiences with really extraordinary people, and then like the pandemic, just times of a drought, a desert where there's nothing happening and nothing being produced, and you're sort of left in a in a echo chamber, like what's happening. So but I just knew when I was like 7 that I loved music, and I knew when I was 14 that I had an ability. And then in high school and college, you develop those skills and you realize that I this is something that comes very easily to me. Learning music, learning lyrics, learning lines, learning staging. So not everybody has that gift or that ability to um, take their natural gifts and turn them into a vocation, into a career. As one of the lucky ones, I've been working pretty steadily, my whole life in the industry. Sometimes you walk out and you do retail jobs or help out friends, but for the most part, I have been performing as an actor and a singer, and then since 2015, a director. That's a whole other slice that I absolutely love. Directing is it's challenging, but it's also so fulfilling to see uh, an actor or an actress not know something, and then you stand outside of them and you say da 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 da, and you give them, you give them pins to put on a board, and then all of a sudden you start seeing this wonderful performance come out of somebody that wasn't there, 30 minutes ago. So
Think you answered like three questions during that time.
I have no shortage of yeah conversations, opinions about the arts. I love the arts. I'm very passionate about them.
Well, to that, the theater experience, why is it such a unique format, both for the actors but also for the audience?
Well, I think in this day and age in 2024, we are all slaves to some device, our television, our telephone, our tablet, and all that stuff is recorded and there for your entertainment and education. I think theater is a uniquely um, uh, immersive art form. when people come to the theater, that's an experience in itself. Buying the ticket, arriving at the theater, finding your seat, the lights going down, and all this is happening in front of you in real time. If someone loses a shoe, if someone falls down the stairs, if someone, if the curtain falls, it's all left to the live performers on stage to deal with whatever happens. Whereas like in the recorded media, we just do another take and we'll get it right so that it's perfect for the broadcast or for the project. But I love theater because there's an immediacy, there's an intimacy, and there's also I was thinking about it the other day. There's three elements to our theater world. There is the creative team that creates the show and that refines it. You have a group of performers who are performing it and doing it for the pleasure of the audience and for themselves as well. But the third and one of the most important elements is the audience. They're there to experience what we know how to do, what we can, the emotions that we can um, uh, inspire in them. And also, someone asked me like, what's your life? Uh, how do you define what your life's mission is as an artist? And I immediately said, well, we're here to reflect the human experience back to itself. That was just the best way I could explain why theater is here, because we're telling stories of joy and of sorrow and of of obstacles and of triumphs, and just basically, like I said, to reflect the human experience back to itself. So we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about other cultures that are unfamiliar to us. We have we can experience things vicariously. Why do you think these things like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? There's like a journey, and we get enormous satisfaction out of starting a journey with a group of people on the stage, and by the end of the show, 2.5 hours later, we've all come out of there, with new brain cells, new experiences, and hopefully our thought processes have been altered and our souls have been enlightened.
Even more important, why are musicals so unique to an audience to go to, and why are they so important and popular to the general theater community?
I love plays, but as a musical theater actor, singer, director, I'm always waiting for some sort of music to come out of a play. So I think producers have gotten smart to that, and they've implemented almost the way that you hear a John Williams score or you hear a Danny Elfman score or an Alan Menken score, the way that they sort of creep into a film. I think theater producers are realizing that we have to start doing plays with musical accompaniment or musical sequences. I love that. I think it's wonderful. I think music is such a healing and exciting thing. I mean, like I always say music is my best friend because it's never let me down and it's always been there. Whereas humans, can disappoint you or upset you. Music never does. There's always some new inspiring thing that comes out of jazz or rock and roll or Latin music or classical music that I just love. So I think the musical art form is very unique in that it's not only a story that starts and ends with interesting characters. It also has something for your ears as well as your eyes. And I think when you hear a song on a stage in a musical, it's something you never forget. There are like iconic moments when Evita comes out and sings "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" on the balcony in that white dress. It's like an iconic moment that you never ever forget. When and I think musical theater writers try to create those kind of moments so that the audience will hopefully first remember their compositions and what they've created, but also um, want to see more. It inspires them like, wow, that was an incredible moment in a musical. The chandelier fell, or the helicopter came in, or they had a beautiful duet on a balcony, or they dance in the middle of the street with fireworks behind them or whatever. It has such a lasting quality within you to to um, to want to experience more of that kind of thing. And theater and musical theater especially is what is so exciting to me, because it's got so many elements. It does have a musical score that you can look forward to, a song that you'll hopefully leave the theater humming, and the characters that deliver the songs on stage stick with you. They stay with you. There's always if a villain is deliciously horrible, you'll remember that song. If a hero or a heroine has an obstacle and they express it through that song, you're along with them. You're right along with them. And when you go on YouTube or you buy a CD or you listen to it streaming, you can relive that moment again. And I think it's very emotional and very it's sort of ineffable. Like, you can't really explain, like, well, why do I love that song? Why do I love Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Because someone wrote that song, someone performed that song, and it sticks to your insides forever. And you want to be that character living that story, and facing those odds, showing bravery, being afraid, but going through all the things of the character. So it's a very powerful medium, very, very powerful medium. And I think what's wonderful about it too is how varied it is. I tell my friends, you can write a musical about anything. It can be futuristic, it can be in the past, it can be fantasy, it can be, you know, stark reality. It can be so many things. Um, Whatever the creative team, the writers and the producers and the directors decide what this thing is going to be, the audience will experience that and hopefully find something to cling to within the 2.5 hour space that you have them as your audience.
When did you first hear about this new musical, and why did you have to be part of this world premiere production?
So about 2 years ago, I directed my fourth production of In the Heights. I have a very long history with the show In the Heights that Lin-Manuel Miranda composed in 2008, was on Broadway for 3 years, and subsequently toured. In 2011, I did the national tour of In the Heights. I played the father, Kevin Rosario, and in 2015, I was asked to direct the show for the very first time. I found that I loved directing. And so in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2022, I directed really successful sold out productions regionally here in Southern California, of the musical In the Heights. And a friend of mine, well, he wasn't a friend at the time, he was sitting in the audience, saw my performance in the show, because I also played the father as well as directed it. And he thought, I like this person's direction. He really understands the dynamic of the Latino community, how to shape these characters into something that's lovable and interesting and educational for the audience. I say he stalked me. He didn't stalk me, but he contacted me. And his name is Chip Healy. He was a former educator in South El Monte, at South El Monte High. And many, many years ago, he challenged his students is to write a piece that was inspired by In the Heights. They saw it when it was here in town, and you can write a show about your community of South El Monte. It's mostly Mexican with some Salvadorian students as well, from El Salvador, immigrants and their families. And so he challenged them to write, and so they were inspired to write this thing. And over the years, it's developed and developed and developed. He came to me with this piece, and he said, my students wrote this play, and it's sort of in the same vein of In the Heights, but it's about Mexican Salvadorians in South El Monte. And he said, I think it has a great future to be a wonderful expression of Latino life in the United States. I read it and I thought, wow, this has really, really great bones. The whole thing has really great bones. It is a piece that is in development. We did a reading in April in South El Monte and got a lot of feedback. And so he asked me to, when eventually we get a theater to produce this, for me to direct it. He would like, because he admired my directing of In the Heights back in 2022 at the La Mirada Theater, that production. So I said, yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful piece of theater and it's got wonderful characters. One of the things that I realize as a Mexican American creative artist in living in the Los Angeles area is our film and TV world. They like to. It feels comfortable to represent the Latino community in stereotypes, you know, and whether it's the gangbanger or the spicy maid or you know the gardener or whatever you can look to as a sort of a Hollywood stereotype. The beauty about In the Heights and now with Pasaje, this musical that I am currently directing at Sierra Madre Playhouse, is there's not an emphasis on gangs and drugs and guns and pregnancy and prison, the sort of the unsavory aspects that have been exploited in Latinx projects. I'm very proud that this piece doesn't really focus on that. It's about a young biracial man who's grown up in a neighborhood that has no Latin influence. He somehow makes his way down to South El Monte here and rediscovers his what we'd say in Spanish Latinidad, like his culture that he never knew he had, and he meets some people along the way that help change his mind, change his life, and give him a greater perspective. I am so proud that it has that aspect to it, because I think in our world we're so saturated with so many influences and things. A lot of people, whether they are white, Latinx, Black, Asian, Native American, Armenian, Indian, Filipino, whatever you are, you should know where you come from. The people that helped you get here, your ancestors who are looking down upon you and wanting you to do better than they did. It's a universal thing in the United States. We are all immigrants. We are all from, well, except the Native Americans, they're from here, but we are all from somewhere else. And it's important to, there's a line in the show, you know, you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. It's a wonderful line of dialogue. And I think it speaks to anybody who wants to know more about their ancestry, wants to know more about it helps inform their future. But every single culture has food and music and clothing and traditions that in our crazy fast-paced world we should continue to honor and represent and recognize and appreciate. So that's one of the beautiful things about Pasaje, is that it's asking the audience, whatever race they are, whatever culture that they are connected to be cognizant of that, and honor your ancestors and move it forward, because you are a better person when you understand your ancestors and the culture that you have been born into on Earth.
I think you answered this, but why is this new musical so relevant today for audiences around this country, not just in Southern California, to hear and see and listen to this music?
It's important because representation of Latinx communities has been somewhat stereotyped, like I said before, but also quite choppy. You know, I've said my whole life that, you know, when Jennifer Lopez drops a movie or Ricky Martin has a tour or John Leguizamo does a theater show, there's a big push towards and it's Hispanic Heritage Month and but it's very piecemeal. what people don't realize is that the the Latinx community in the United States is a huge rainbow of people. They are either Mexican American, they are Central American, they are South American, they are Caribbean, the Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cubans. There's so many colors and flavors to our Latinx diaspora, but we're all kind of lumped together in this sort of this sort of brown envelope. And I think it's really important for the people in the United States to understand we're just humans. We're just citizens of the United States, and we want to work, and we want to play, and we want to love, and we want to express ourselves and our culture for other people to enjoy, just the way that any other culture has been able to do that. Black culture or Italian culture or Puerto Rican culture, LGBTQ culture. We're all aiming for an equal amount of expression in the arts and in the media. So I think the more people know about other cultures, the more empathy and compassion they will have towards them. And there's a lot of fear stoked in the United States' history from many, many cultures, immigrants or certain communities that have had prejudices and bigotry thrown at them. And I think when you create a piece of art that shows how human we all are, we're all facing the same things. We're all just trying to be the best that we can be in this multicolored, multicultural United States. We become more enlightened ourselves about our neighbors, about our communities. Everyone in this country knows someone of Latin descent. Everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, whether you're on the West Coast, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and we all have something to offer each other, and we all have something to enlighten each other with. So I think I would encourage anyone who's a creative and who feels underrepresented to write something. You have a friend who's a writer, you have a friend who's a composer, write a musical, write a play, write a one-person show. Let your voice be heard so that we can more understand you and have compassion and empathy for those that we don't understand. You know, we're sort of all in this together, and why wouldn't, you know, it's funny. I went to Alabama in the Heights once, and this woman in a rather prejudiced way interviewed me and said, well, why would somebody from Alabama want to see a show about singing, dancing Latinos in New York City, which is in the Heights, you know, putting it in very small terms. And I said, well, I think because it's good to learn about other cultures. It's good to know what other people are experiencing so that you're more enlightened. I said, well, let me put it this way. I'm not Jewish, but I love Fiddler on the Roof. I'm not Black, but I love Dreamgirls. I think it's such a wonderful slice of specific cultures that I find connections. I find things that I can relate to and I can understand, and that are just so familiar to me. I have friends like that. I have relatives like that. I have experiences like that. So I would just encourage anybody who's a creative to figure out what it is you want to say about your past, about your present, and what your future would like to be.
Tell me about the creatives. Tell me about the writer. Tell me about the lyricist. And most important, tell me about your great cast.
Our creative team consists of myself, Benny Perez, the director, Asdru Sierra, who is one of the founders of the well-known Latinx group Ozo Motley. They kind of write Latin world music. Greg Perez, who is an amazing musician, is our musical director. He has a long history in the music world, as well as being a musical director for Dancing with the Stars for many years. Our choreographer, Tanya Pasek, she is of Salvadorian descent, which is so exciting because our show takes place in the community of South El Monte, which is Mexican and Salvadorian. So She brings a wonderful sense of authenticity to her choreography. We have a wonderful designer, Tiffany Anguiano, who is one of the students who helped develop Pasaje back at South El Monte High with my friend Chip Healy. So there's a lot of really amazing uh, uh, pieces to this puzzle that are putting this show together at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. And thanks so much to Matt Cook, the artistic director, and Barry Tsang, who is our company manager. They're keeping they're keeping the boat afloat, and we're rehearsing in the theater and getting ready for Tech Week next week. They're it's a crack team. We're doing a great thing, and we're excited to show this show. We're excited to promote and perform the show for Sierra Madre audiences who may not experience something like this usually. It's a brand new show that's in development, but it's also something that we're hoping will go further to a larger regional theater, to even Broadway. You know, there's not a lot of Latin representation on Broadway, so we're hoping that some very wealthy producer with tons of cash will come see the show and throw money at us and say, "Here, take it to Broadway." You know, that's everyone's dream when they're creating something, for it to go to the next level and the next level and the next level and become a national representation of our very important and wonderful community here in Southern California.
Can you talk more about the actors and having them be the first version of these characters for this musical?
Absolutely, it's very exciting. These characters only existed on the page for a very long time, and we had auditions, and we found these wonderful actors from the Southern California area. Some of them are locals. Some of them have moved here, like so many do. We have a wonderful actor named Seth Keller. He's playing Andy, our protagonist, who grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and makes his way down to South El Monte and starts to rediscover his culture. He is he's such a dynamo. I mean, he plays the guitar, he plays the piano, he sings, he acts. He's just I'm so impressed with his abilities. And when he came into audition, I thought, that's our Andy. I loved his energy and his enthusiasm for the show and for the role. Ixchel, which is spelled Ixchel, it's an indigenous name, is originally from Guatemala, in Central America. And Ixchel Valiente, 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 Ixchel Valiente. And she is playing Marcelina, the other principal role, a Salvadorian girl who dreams of dancing on Broadway. But when the show is set in 2011, her dreams aren't, that easily attained. And her character that she's playing is very guarded, came from a very, sort of painful past, and she's got a lot of obstacles herself to recover from. She and Andy are sort of on this journey together. The characters of Marcelina and Andy are on this journey together, and Seth and Ixchel are beautifully embodying these characters that no one's ever seen truly embodied on the stage. We have a wonderful gentleman, Joshua Duron, Duron, who is playing Don Miguel. He's sort of the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the neighborhood. He's got a lot of hidden knowledge, but he's there to help along with their journey. We have a wonderful actress named Sandra Dar who's playing Andy's mother, Angela. She has her own secrets and her own conflicts within herself that are explored in the show. She's a wonderful actress. I'm so proud of the work that she's doing as well. We have two people that I can express as they are They are the hustlers in the show. Hustler 1 and Hustler 2. Hustler uno and dos. Hustler 1 is played by Carol Avila, and Hustler 2 is played by Daniel Moises. And they're kind of our, I've told them, you guys are like the narrators of this thing. You're kind of the shape shifting storytellers. They start the show in a kind of an irreverent fashion. They do commentary on things. They jump in and out of musical numbers. They they are the wise and witty, company players that frame this entire story. They, I just, I'm so happy that these kinds of characters were written into the show. They're kind of in the vein of Che in Evita, or the leading player in Pippin, or El Pachuco in Zoot Suit, that have, like, I call them like my Latinx superheroes, because they kind of have magical powers to I'll start a show with a snap of a finger. I will, stop a number with a flip of my hand. They're really extraordinary performers and wonderful um, aspects to the show that I think are a little unexpected, but I like what they're doing. And in addition to that, we have a wonderful ensemble of characters that populate South El Monte. Um, our theater at Sierra Madre is only 31 feet wide, so I wish we could do a larger neighborhood. But our wonderful set designer Tiffany has designed this beautiful set that represents, in a smaller fashion, the city of El Monte, and how the denizens get around the neighborhood, and the community sort of exists in there. We're hoping in the future, a larger stage, a bigger set, more actors. But for now, in this first production, this sort of development stage, we're just working in the beauty and the intimacy of the Sierra Madre Playhouse.
What are the underlying messages in the new musical?
It's a story of a young biracial person's journey to self-discovery and uncovering family secrets. It kind of sums up the show. But I also think that because there are so many biracial people in the United States now, whether they be Black and Latin, or white and Asian, or like our vice president who's Indian and Black, there's the notion of being biracial is something that the entire world has kind of dealt with. I think what I said before, discovering your past, your ancestors, appreciating their sacrifices and contributions to your life helps inform who you are as a human, as a person, and helps you move forward in your life, to a bright future. When you don't know who you are, there's a lot of strange and negative temptations in this world that you can be coerced by. And I think when you know who you are, and you know where you come from, and you know where you're going, well, what could any adult wish more for a young person than to be focused and to know all those things, so that you don't get tempted by the negative things in the world. So I think the message I want people to take away is that our Latin culture is a vibrant and vital force in the United States, not what you think we are, they are. And like I said, researching your past, no matter what culture you come from, it's very important. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. You should be able to share that with all your friends and family. There should be absolutely no shame in your language, or your food, or your clothing, or your music. This is all your history, the tragedies and the triumphs. There's something really, really beautiful about this show. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's got a message of hope and a message of redemption. And also, I'm hoping that it inspires more people to support theater, to support people of color stories, to do more theatrical projects, to do more theatrical projects about specific cultures, to write more musicals, to compose more plays, do poetry, sculpt, paint, all the arts, all the creative arts are so important to our spirit and our soul. We're nothing without them. I'm sorry, we're just nothing without the expression of our own human experience and the creativity it takes to inspire other people. And we also need the audiences. The audience, we can't no we would all be we would without audiences, we'd all be a bunch of crazies in a dark room, like just talking to each other. So it's important for audiences to continue to support whatever phase of development these pieces are.
I know this is like asking who's your favorite child, but in this musical, is there a part of the musical, a song that is your favorite part and you're hoping people will get something really special out of it?
Yes, there is. I mean, I think when we were in rehearsals early on and having meetings, there's this one sequence that so Andy is living in a very white community in Flagstaff, Arizona. He has his father's watch. I'm giving away plot points. He has his father's watch, who he knows very little about, and his mother won't tell him. But he finds a letter that's addressed in South El Monte, the return address in South El Monte. So he makes a decision to go down to South El Monte. And I feel like that's sort of like the first beginning of his journey. The first match is lit. And Asdru Sierra, the composer, wrote this really wonderful song called My Whole Life. And it's like, I think it's like the first step that Andy takes on his own as a young person to investigate these mysterious things that he doesn't know about. And I've set him up on sort of this version of the Hogwarts Express. And Tiffany, our projection designer, has the projection moving, behind him. He's leaving Flagstaff, and it's just a beautiful, simple moment. Our character Andy is sitting on a train, and he's singing, "My whole life's been waiting for this. My whole life's been dreaming of this. For my 18th birthday wish, we couldn't ask for more." It's a beautiful, beautiful moment, and it's just getting him from his familiar place to an unfamiliar place. It's almost as though like the tornado in The Wizard of Oz, bringing him to a different community, and it's nothing fancy. It's just him on a train, the beginning of this experience and this journey that he's taking. It's just the simplicity of. I think I like the simplicity of it. We've all been on a journey somewhere. You get on a plane, you get on a train, you get in your car, and you don't know what the other end is going to be like. And it's a journey of discovery, and it's all the things. It's frightening, it's exciting, it's illuminating, it's hilarious, it's tragic. It's all the things we've all done it. We all should do it more often.
Very important question. Why must the theater community and beyond go to this unique musical now?
Yes, yes. Well, like I said before, it's an expression. It's a dignified expression of Latino life in the United States. That's when people would ask me about In the Heights. I'm so proud of Lin-Manuel Miranda's creation of that show, and he and the writer Chiara Alegria Hudes, they made a decision that we weren't going to include all that other stuff that you see in film and TV, all the negative stereotypes. So this is an extension of that same idea, not wanting to focus on negative stereotypes of the Latin culture, and how we can show that we're just people who have the American dream, who want to raise their families and love each other and love our neighbors and love our friends, and keep our traditions not just to ourselves, but like within ourselves, but also share them. like I said before, it's fascinating to learn about other cultures. I feel very sorry for people that are not interested in other cultures, who can't learn about them, appreciate them, honor them, and just recognize the representation. Because that's one of the beautiful things about the United States is the multiculturalism that we have. Everybody loves Mexican food. Everybody loves black music. Everybody loves, country music, which like is derived kind of from Ireland and from the UK. That type of music. So America is this gigantic melting pot. Why wouldn't we embrace all the beautiful, stripes on our flag, all the stars on our flag? We've all got something to contribute to this, and I will wholeheartedly support any theater piece that tells a distinguished story about our Latin culture or about any person of color. They're a very misunderstood, underrepresented, and sometimes reviled slice of life in the United States. It's unfortunate that in this day and age there's so much representation and yet there's still so much ignorance. So theater is one way we can all sit in a dark room for a couple of hours, and hopefully by the end of it you've come out, what I like to say, edutained, educated and entertained. That's the best kind of media I think you can absorb and that you can be a part of and support is edutainment. It's educating you and it's entertaining you.
I'm going to ask this question because I know you're a great actor and director, but I can feel you're a great educator too. And tell us why the arts and specific theater classes should be taught more often in school, and also more importantly, why parents should take their kids more often to live theater productions.
Yeah. I I I told you my story of being 14 years old and knowing that I had a musical gift, but not knowing quite how to utilize it or apply it. And there was a teacher, this little man with a beard, Ken Camarella, who played the piano, and he realized I had a good ear. I sang like a bird. I sang it back to him. So educators have a very, very tough job in that they have to find talent for the curriculum for their classes. And some people take arts classes in high school and they don't go on to create a career about it. I would say, in my group in high school and in college, 10%, 15% made the arts a living. I was one of the lucky ones. But it's important because parents should try to recognize an artistic ability. They can write, they can sculpt, they can paint, they can sing, they can dance, they can act. If they recognize it early on in a child, that's the part to help them develop that. It's like a sports, or if you have a proclivity for sports or for computers or for anything, it's the same with the arts. If your child shows interest and they show ability, it's a great thing to encourage them. They very well could make this into a career and be emotionally and, fingers crossed, financially satisfied being an artist. Now, it is a challenging thing. And I would tell any parent, if your child is a great singer, actor, dancer, whatever, you support them as well as you can. But also, the arts are also like an up and down kind of business. Get get other tools in your belt besides the art of performance or your degree or the whatever you're pursuing, because there are ups and downs in this business, and there are slow times and there are busy times, and you got to figure out how to pay your bills in the slow times. The busy times. I'll tell you something. I will say to any parent, please support your kids in the arts, because it makes them better people. It makes them have empathy. It makes them understand other cultures. It sparks their creativity. It really helped me become more popular in high school. I was a nerd and I was bullied and I hated life when I was in junior high. Got to high school, people just go, oh, he can sing, he can act, he can like. and all of a sudden my stock rose as a person, and I didn't understand it, but it's the semantics of high school, you know. And then when I left high school, I went to Citrus College, and very accelerated junior college. Their program was extraordinary. I stayed there for 3 years. None of the high school baloney was there. We were just boom, 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 working on music and dancing and acting and theater and performance. It's exciting when you find something that you're good at and you could possibly make a career out of. So I found a stride there, and it just kept, luckily, it kept going and going and going through my adult life. So, yeah, it's very important to have the arts in a curriculum. Sports, in my opinion, I'm sorry, I'm not a sporto, so haters hate, is the most over, it's the most over budgeted, and so much attention is put on sports, and very little people after they leave school remain in sports. You know, not everybody becomes, you know, a sports star. Not everybody becomes Simone Biles or Tiger Woods, but music lives on in your entire life. My friends who I went to high school and college with, they may not be performers, but they love going to karaoke. They love going to the ballet. They support the symphony. They when a show comes to town, they become patrons of the arts, even if they're not employed as a creative in their career. So it's just all good. It's all good things bouncing off of artistic expression in high school, college, community theater, regional theater, national theater, Broadway, global. It's all, you know, it's all something that we can. I love it when people discover, hey, I saw this you know, this show came through town, and I don't go to musicals, I don't like that, but I love, you know, wow, you know, somebody has been their light has been turned on about how wonderful and how much work and blood, sweat, and tears it is to make something like what we're creating with Pasaje. And here's another thing. Sorry, one more thing. When you're doing a show, when you're an actor or you're a director, and you put this thing up and the lights go down in the theater and the show starts, you never know who is out there in the audience going to be inspired or uplifted by your message on that stage. You know, a little child who doesn't, oh, I could never do, well, now I can do that. I see it in front of me. And you can be a director, you can be an actor. Your culture or your family may tell you can't do that. You're like, who are you? You can't do that. It happens in every culture. So the power of the arts is in inspiring and entertaining audiences, but also letting young people know we need you. We want you. We want you to be the fire that keeps this thing burning. It keeps the candle glowing. You know, it's theater always seems on the verge of collapsing, but every few years something new comes along, something exciting that everybody wants to be a part of and has an investment in. So fingers crossed, you know, Pasaje on Broadway soon.
What would you like to say to the original group of South El Monte High School drama students and alumni who first thought of this musical concept, which is now a live production? What would you want to say to them?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Chip Healy, the educator who was inspired by Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights and challenged his students to create something along that vein. That there again, you know, Lin was just this musical theater nerd, you know, Puerto Rican growing up in New York, and um, going to Wesleyan University. He was challenged by his teacher to write a short musical. He's like, "What do I write about?" And the teacher said, "Write about what you know." So he wrote a nearby neighborhood of Washington Heights. It was colorful. There were all these characters and music and food, and so he wrote a few songs, and everybody said, "There's something here. You need to develop this further. It's got what I call bones. It's got bones of something." So I and then it ended up being on a Broadway stage, and then he ended up writing Hamilton 8 years later. So there there are moments in your youth where you can be inspired by teachers, by other creatives and artists to create something yourself. So thank you to those students for bringing these characters to life on a page, showing us what your community is about, showing us the obstacles and the challenges and the sorrows and the successes of what is possible being a person of color in the Los Angeles area, in California, in the United States. Um, they they gave us a great gift. These characters are universal, and they're people that you know, your friends, your family, your coworkers. And I for one appreciate that what they brought from their imaginations onto a page is now coming to life on a stage that is just, a few miles north of where they first started this journey. And hopefully it's just the first page of a really long journey that takes this theater piece to a larger level, to a more to a wider audience, and to a larger national spotlight. There's a very sad lack of Latino representation on stages. I mean, we had West Side Story. Okay, great, that's gangs, and there's very little else to. We had In the Heights, which I feel like is a distinguished representation of Latin culture. But there's not a whole heck of a lot in our canon of Latin works for the public to enjoy and embrace and understand.
Is there anything else you need to or you want to mention about this production that we haven't covered?
Well, so we open Friday, October 4th at the Sierra Madre Playhouse. We have 3 performances a weekend. It's running for 5 weekends until November 3rd, I believe. So it's Friday night at 8, Saturday night at 8, Sunday at 4. I would recommend that you get your tickets, because you may not be able to get tickets the last couple of weekends. Word of mouth usually works in this town. And, by the last weekend, it very well could be sold out, and I don't want you to miss it. What I would say is, too, I want to repeat what I said before, echo that if you're a parent and your child has artistic abilities, do your best to support them. They may be the next Lin-Manuel Miranda. They may be the next Andrew Lloyd Webber. They may be the next Rachel Chavkin, the director of Hadestown. There's so many opportunities. We just have to sort of create them, for people to express themselves, and for everybody wants a successful show. Everybody, whether it's Netflix or whether it's on Broadway, they want things to be a success. So I just would encourage all of you to support your kids in the arts. It's an important thing. We need to build the next generation of creative artists, not just YouTubers and not just TikTokers. That needs to roll over into the wonderful art of theater, which is thousands of years old. We're not doing anything new. This is what the Greeks did. It was a slab of cement, and they wore masks, and the audiences clapped or cried or laughed. So we're here to carry on that wonderful and honored tradition of storytelling on a stage, live, for people. Hi, this is Benjamin Perez. I'm the director of a new musical at the Sierra Madre Playhouse called Pasaje, Pasaje. Pasaje. It means pathway in Spanish. It will be playing at the Sierra Madre Playhouse October 4th to November 3rd, weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Please come and support local theater. It's a wonderful story about a young biracial boy discovering his past, family secrets, and the road to his future.